Hi everyone, my name is Ahmed Graves Eel, and welcome to SNJ Today's podcast, South Jersey Stories, where we get beneath the surface of the news stories and topics we're still talking about. With me today is Mike Epifanio, who created Hometown Heroes in 2009 to honor the men and women of Vineland who helped make the community a better place to live and work. 10 years later, Hometown Heroes has expanded to encompass all of Cumberland County to have the nominees tell their stories of hope and ways they help improve their community. During this interview, we will hear from 4 of the 26 Hometown Heroes honorees. What was the impetus behind the decision for you to create Hometown Heroes?
Well, Ahmed, it started as a celebration of the first anniversary of the newspaper. Especially at the time that we started the newspaper, it was 2008. The economy was not all that great. We had just entered a recession, and it was tough going, and we got to our 1 year. We were getting close to our 1 year anniversary, and we said, "Wow, this is something to celebrate." But we didn't want to just throw a party like, "Yay us!" We wanted to do something that would be a community party, kind of. So we came up with this concept of Hometown Heroes, having our readers nominate people in the community who kind of go above and beyond, whether it's volunteering, philanthropy, activism, whatever it is, to make our community a better place to live and work. And at that time, that first year, we were a Vineland newspaper, so the Hometown Heroes were Vineland residents or people who lived, or work in Vineland, and then later on it expanded. But so that was how it got started. We wanted to have a party to celebrate our anniversary, but we wanted to do something that was in the spirit of the community and recognizing people who made it a better place to live and work.
That's awesome, Mike. That's awesome. So our next question is, what is the process of choosing the nominees?
Well, again, we threw it out to our readers. We put nomination forms in the newspaper that we published starting, let's say, like at the end of the fall and going into, I think the deadline is usually sometime in the beginning of January. The nomination form was and still is also available online. So we look to our readers to make the nominations. In a couple of cases, we would go back and take a look at our coverage, the stories that we've done, and kind of supplement the reader selections with some names that we think these are pretty cool stories. We really should throw this one out there. And usually we try to encourage somebody else to make those nominations, because we don't want to just have everything be a house nomination. It means less to the honoree if it came from us than if it came from somebody in the community that admired their work.
So I guess I won't be making any nominations anytime soon, sir. Okay. On average, how many nominations do you believe get submitted each year?
Well, we probably get somewhere around 30 or 40. Most of the time, people won't take the effort to nominate somebody if they're not, most of the time people know what this is. They know what the Hometown Hero program is about, so they'll. Every once in a while, you'll get somebody that says, "I want to nominate my wife because she's a wonderful woman. Takes care of everybody in the family." But that's not really what the program is all about. It's really about community, doing things in the community, not just doing things as a good father or mother. Once in a while, we get some like that. But for the most part, people don't take the time and effort to nominate someone unless they're really somebody that's a treasure in the community that's really taken time to make the area a better place to live and work through donating their time or efforts.
Reverend Dr. Rob Weinstein is the founding pastor of Bethany Grace Community Church and the founder and president of the M25 Initiative. Weinstein describes what caused him to create the Ending Homelessness by 2020 and Code Blue initiatives.
It really really started with the fact that several different things happened, but a gentleman by the name of Lloyd, who was sleeping on the back of my church, and deciding to try to get involved and to help him. And then I spent a weekend homeless in Bridgeton to try to raise awareness and get a different understanding and appreciation of what the homeless go through. And out of that kind of emerged the Code Blue movement and the Housing First movement. So really it always comes back to a guy named Lloyd, and unfortunately Lloyd passed away 2 years ago behind the Bridgeton Board of Education building. But because of his life, his spirit lives on through these initiatives, as well as Mr. Joseph Henshaw, who passed away in the Salvation Army clothing bin that helped spark the Code Blue program. So really, it's remembering those people, our homeless neighbors, that started this all off.
So most of the time, the nominations that we get are very good and worthy of consideration. We usually don't get too many that we have to set aside. Every once in a while, we have a bumper crop like this year. Year before, we had a lot of nominations, so we do end up holding some until the following year. We also run into situations where somebody, one of the nominees says, "Oh, I'd love to be honored, but I see that the gala is going to be on March 24th or something. I'm going to be away. Can you hold my nomination till the next year? Because I'd really like to." So we do that from time to time as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, is there any particular nominee that has stood out to you after the 10 years of doing Hometown Heroes?
Well, we've honored. I think the number is 228 people by now. After 10 years of doing it. So I wouldn't want to pick one person, but I will tell you that there's kind of a category of people, and it's the young people. Every year we try to include, or we like to include, at least one or two young people, whether that's a grade school kid or a teenager, high school student. I really get a kick out of those nominations myself, and I love reading their stories. When I always like to say there's hope for the future when we have one of those nominations, because some of these kids, to get it at that early of an age, to be that engaged in your community at that early of an age, that's pretty special, and we like to encourage that. We really want to see the next generation get involved in their community.
Dr. Mary Gruccio is the superintendent of Vineland Public Schools and has been teaching for more than 40 years in Vineland. She does what she can not just for the students of Vineland, but for the whole community.
Well, right now I'm superintendent of schools, but I've been an educator for 43 years in Vineland, and I've been a teacher, a principal, assistant superintendent. So I'm here for the kids of Vineland and the families of Vineland, and I try to do whatever I can to provide the very best for them in the Vineland Public Schools. You should embrace your community. I'm very proud to live here, and I'm very proud that my kids came back here after college. And I think whenever you can give back to your community, it's a blessing. And, I'm proud to do that because I'm proud to live here. So it's my pleasure to do that.
Some of the proceeds from the gala will go toward that. And I think you're probably going to be asking me about the money that's going to the charity, so I'll get into that a little later in the interview.
Okay.
But I mean, there are some fantastic stories. I mean, we've had kids that have foregone or encouraged people to come to their birthday party not to bring them gifts, but instead to bring coats or canned goods for the homeless. There's stories about. I remember when Anthony Carter was a kid. He's one of our honorees a few years back, and he's returned each year to the gala. He found, I think it was $800 in the Walmart parking lot, and instead of just keeping it, he told his mother, "I want to make sure we return this." And it turns out the person who had inadvertently dropped this envelope with this money. It was their rent money, and they really needed it. And the story made the papers. And
I remember reading that story.
Really inspiring story. And he's a great kid. He's gone on to be a great college student, and went to Cumberland, and now he's going, I think, to American University. It's a great story. We have there's a guy, kid Jake Yuan, who's come back every year. Started out him, asking his mother, why do kids get cancer? And he just got involved with the Alex's Lemonade Stand movement, and it just grew and grew each year. And they eventually his father was I think a volunteer fireman, and they held the Alex's Lemonade Stand. They turned it into a whole community day, and he's raised tens of thousands of dollars over the years for Alex's Lemonade Stand. And he comes back every year. This year he was standing on my left side at the gala as I call up the honorees and read their bios. He's the one handing them their gift bags that we give to each honoree. That's cool. So I get a kick out of that, and getting to see him every year, seeing him grow. Now he's practically as tall as I am, and those are my favorite stories. Is the kids. I mean, some of obviously the stories of some of the adults and some of the things that they've done in the community are just amazing and inspirational. But I get a kick out of the younger kids that we honor.
John Fuqua lost his nephew to a gang-related incident in 2008, and now he works with the city of Bridgeton to get rid of gang violence. Fuqua says that all it takes is for one person to make a difference in their community.
Plain and simple, it starts with one person. It starts with one idea, one act. Then you got to get up and put your plan in motion. It's going to be hard days. It's going to be long days. But you got to get up. Anything you do in this world, the first thing you got to do is get up. So I want to encourage people to get up and get involved.
Oh, much respected, Mike. Much respected. Why did you expand Hometown Heroes from just Vineland to all of Cumberland County?
Well, again, it's a reflection of the growth of the newspaper. When I launched the Grapevine, it was an independent newspaper. We started from scratch, not affiliated at the time, wasn't affiliated with any other media outlets. We were just an independent, and we were a Vineland newspaper. It was distributed exclusively in Vineland. Within a couple of years of our launch, we decided that we wanted to reach a wider audience, and our distribution and our coverage expanded to cover all of Cumberland County. And so the Hometown Heroes program, as an extension of that, also covered the entire county at that point. So we honored people from not just Vineland, but obviously, all the townships and Millville and Bridgeton as well.
Cool. All right. Is there a set donation goal every year?
Well, the goal of the project is to tell these inspirational stories of these people that are making an impact in the hopes of encouraging other people to give of their time to improve the standing of the community. Mm-hmm. So that's the number one goal. So when we have this gala in there, so we put when the Hometown Heroes are selected, we put their photos on the cover of the newspaper and inside, along with their stories inside, why they were selected as a hometown hero, what they've done in our community. That recognition is the primary goal, but then we have this gala, and and all of those honorees, usually there's a couple dozen, they're the guests of honor at the gala that year. So we raise the money through the ticket sales of their supporters. If Ahmed was named a hometown hero, we don't pick Ahmed to be a hometown hero because he could sell a lot of tickets at the gala. That's not why we pick people at all. It's a nice benefit because we do have the gala, and the gala itself is a fundraiser, but it's to make those people feel special and to kind of reinforce that you're doing some good work in the community. You're being recognized for it. Please keep doing it, and please spread the word and get other people involved. And I can't tell you how many times people, and I know I'm getting off track of what the original question was.
It's all good.
I can't tell you how often we call to tell people you've been selected. It's usually Mickey Brandt who makes those phone calls. And Mickey organizes all of the bios. He gets all the bios together from all the nominees. And sometimes the nominations that come in aren't as complete as we'd like them to be. So he'll, either contact the nominator or sometimes do some research on his own and get more information about the people. But anyway, usually a lot of times when people get contacted, they're like, I don't want to be honored. That's okay. That's not why I do this. 90% of the people say that's not why I do this. And we tell them that's precisely why we want to honor you.
Because of their humility
yes,
as well.
And so we a lot of times we're trying to talk people into accepting the honor every year. Many of our honorees, because so few of them, very few of them are public people. They do what they do behind the scenes. They do it because they love doing it, because they know it's the right thing to do, because they see a need that needs to be filled. They see people who are hurting or people who are in need, and they take action. That's just what they do. That's why they're heroes. They're not expecting reward or accolades. Right. They're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. So a lot of times we have to tell them, look, we want to honor you. It's not about necessarily you, but if you say no, then people aren't going to hear about the organization that you're donating your time to. They're not going to hear about that cause that you're dedicating your money or your resources, your time, your talent to. So think about that. This is an opportunity. If you volunteer for, if you're a big brother and you're involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and you say, I don't want to accept the honor, well, you just missed out an opportunity to shine a spotlight on the great work that Big Brothers Big Sisters does.
And honestly, for people that will see that they're hometown heroes, they might want to lend their support, whether it's financially or with materials to help them expand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, at the gala, so many of our honorees, they meet each other. And some of our sponsors might meet some of the honorees at the event after hearing their bio about what they do, and a lot of times connections are formed, and there's even more good work that can be done because of those connections.
Warren DeShields is the Director of Food Services for Brixton Public Schools. He explains why it is an honor to be a Hometown Heroes nominee.
It is an honor, and I think it's a privilege because the work that I do here in the community goes for the kids. It goes to make the community stronger. In doing that, I guess I was given this award, for it. But I think it's an honor, like I said before. It's a privilege to do the work that I do and help the community and strengthen it. And I continue to do it.
So the Hometown Heroes Gala is also good for a networking event too.
It is. And so the primary thing about it is, your original question was, do we have a target of how much money we're going to raise? And, we don't really think about it that way. But, I mean, just judging by where we've been the last couple of years, we've raised about maybe in the neighborhood of $7,000, $8,000 per year for the last several years. So, and it looks like we're on target to do that again this year. We had an incredibly successful event in terms of measuring success by how many people attended. I mean, it was just unbelievable and gratifying. So, the event keeps growing, but there's other things that affect how much money we're able to clear. And it's really 100% of the proceeds of the event after we pay all our expenses for the venue, for the centerpieces and the awards and plaques and things like that, for all that stuff. Once everything's paid for, whatever's left over, we distribute 100% of it to our two charities.
Oh, and that was going to be my next question.
Perfect segue.
Perfect segue. What charities does Hometown Heroes donate to?
Well, we have two, and they're two charities that are near and dear to my heart that I'm involved with. I'm the first charity is Vineland Rotary Charities Foundation, and so through Vineland Rotary Charities Foundation, we give the money to establish a Hometown Heroes scholarship. So every year we give. Now it's a $2,500 scholarship. Sometimes we give more. Sometimes we have multiple scholarships. Some years we've given as many as 5 $1,000 scholarships, but we've kind of locked in on the $2,500 scholarship now. And the scholarship is a Hometown Hero scholarship, and the qualification is the student has to demonstrate the same kind of volunteerism or activism as our heroes. So it's another way of paying it forward and recognizing people in the community that are doing great work and rewarding them for it, even though they didn't do it for that purpose. They didn't set out to get any kind of reward or any kind of acknowledgement. They just did it, and now we're telling those students, great work. Here's some money to help pay for your education, and in the hopes that you're going to continue to make this a lifestyle, part of who you are, to continue to give back to your community. So the Rotary Club does so many great things in our community. The scholarships are just one small part of what the Rotary Club does to make an impact on this community, and that's why I love to serve in that and to be a member of that club and serve on the board of the Rotary Club. The other organization that receives the other half of our funding is the Cumberland Cape Atlantic YMCA. And I've been very involved with the YMCA. I go back to the time I was 3 years old and walked in the door to go to preschool there. It was called nursery school at the time. I learned to swim there, as countless kids in our community learned to swim.
Me too. I have to say, me too, Mike.
I mean, drowning is the number one cause of death of children in this country. So that alone is worthy of recognition for the good work that the YMCA does. But there's so many things that the YMCA does for our community. This money is used to support some of their cause-driven programs, and I'll tell you about a couple of them, 3 of them to be exact. The first is the Live Strong program. It's a free program for cancer survivors to help them find their new normal. It's a combination of nutritional information, group therapy sessions, exercise tailored to their condition. Another program the proceeds from the gala help to keep going is the free diabetes prevention program that the YMCA offers, and that again is no cost to anybody in the community to take part. And then we have a Y-Cares financial assistance program. Nobody who wants to take advantage of the YMCA's services should be turned down. Nobody gets a free membership to the YMCA. However, we have people that apply for the Y-Cares financial assistance, and they can get some cost of their membership subsidized through the Y-Cares financial assistance program. So those are just 3 of the many cause-driven programs that the Y offers to the community. It's not just a typical gym and swim. The YMCA is a community organization. It is a charitable organization. So those are the 2 charities. Vineland Rotary Charities Foundation uses the money for Hometown Hero scholarships for the kids that do the same good work as our heroes. And then Cumberland Cape Atlantic YMCA uses the money for these great community programming.
Still to uplift the community. That's
what it's all about. Yeah, the whole point of the event is to recognize people who are doing it, and then the money goes to organizations that are doing it, that are just uplifting the community.
What do you want to see in the next 10 years for Hometown Heroes?
I would like to see it continue. First and foremost, I mean, who knows what the future will hold, but wouldn't it be fantastic if we could honor another 228 people in the next 10 years? To have recognized that many people in the 10 years' time is something that I'm very proud of, to have started this movement and that it's been sustained, and I'm so happy. You know, the funny thing is I met the CEO, owner of SNJ Today, at a Hometown Heroes Gala. It was I think it was like 4 years ago now. He had just started this SNJ Today, vision that he had. He'd acquired a local radio station and television station, and approached me at the gala. He was there to honor, I think it was his cousin that he was there to honor that year as an attendee, and just says, "Wow, this is a great event, Mike." I just, he told me his story, how he was starting SNJ Today, and that their mission was to tell positive stories in innovative ways, which obviously aligns very closely with the newspaper at the time was called The Grapevine, the newspaper I had started. And he loved the Hometown Heroes Gala. He loved the idea that we're out there telling this dozen stories every year. And he said, we got to be able to partner up. And lo and behold, it was within 2 years of the time that I met him that the Grapevine was acquired by SNJ Today. Me and my staff all came over. And Ken and the entire staff at SNJ Today believed in that program that we had started, this Hometown Heroes project, and wanted very much to see it continue. In fact, we had created a television show that ran for a good year, where I would interview 3 of the honorees on every one of the shows, and it got to be very difficult for me to schedule that many people to keep the show going. Something that we've been talking about reviving it, because it's a great thing, and this podcast will actually be able to do that in an audio format, but we want to bring it back as a TV show on SNJ Today's Cumberland County Channel 22 on Comcast. So it's a great fit for the company. One of the things that I said at the gala during my welcoming remarks is, that again, repeating that SNJ Today's mission was about telling positive stories in innovative ways. And here we were telling 26 incredibly positive stories, and we had a lot of really innovative ways to tell those stories, including this podcast, which some of the interviews I'm told from this podcast will actually be boiled down as standalone segments on our radio station, 99.9 FM. So that's pretty cool too. And of course the program was being broadcast on Facebook Live the night of the gala. So another innovative way to tell these 26 really great positive stories. So that's what SNJ Today is all about. We told them through traditional media of print. We delivered those messages, those stories on radio. We've told these stories of these hometown heroes on television, on Channel 22, and now we're doing it digitally with Facebook Live and this podcast. So it's something that I'm really glad to see. To get back to your question, where do I want to see it in 10 years, and just continue to find the most innovative new ways of telling these stories. The stories themselves aren't going to change a whole lot. There's still stories about people who rolled up their sleeves, got involved in their community, saw a need, and decided to fill it. One of the other things that I like to see come of this is that people will continue to be inspired. At the gala, I asked the attendees, I said, contemplate this with me. Imagine if every one of our hometown heroes that were there tonight, that's 26 people, and all the honorees that have come before them. So we're talking about 228 people in 10 years. Imagine if every one of those people inspired just one other person to go out and find, somebody that needs help, some way to help. And then each of those people in turn inspired another person, and so on and so on. Before you knew it, we'd have an army of thousands of people who are out there looking for needs to be filled, looking for things that they can lend their talents and their time to right a wrong or to improve the lot of one of their friends or neighbors or somebody in the community that they might not even know. That would be a pretty special thing. And I like to think that this little project that we started 10 years ago has kind of at least motivated some people to get off their couch, get out the door, and get involved. There's so many organizations that are fantastic organizations in our community that need volunteers. There's so many stories that you can read about or hear about in the media of people who are in need. Maybe they, there could be a house that's burned down, somebody's lost a job, whatever the need is. There's so many things. You don't just have to do it as part of an organization. It's a Boys and Girls Club or a Rotary or the YMCA. I mean, there's so many organizations that are out there doing good work, but you don't have to even do it as a volunteer with those organizations, and they do need volunteers. The Rotary Club does need members, and these organizations do need more people to do the good work. But you can do things on your own, and as I mentioned with some of those young people, it's something that as a family, if you set out with your child to do a project, and I go back to that Jake Yuan story again. He said he wanted to do something, and yes, he did have that motivation on his own, but his parents were there to support that.
Right.
And his parents are heroes. His parents showed him the way that he could take his motivation and execute it, make it happen. So he can connect. As a 10-year-old kid, you need somebody to drive you around. You need to figure out how to contact the people at Alex's Lemonade Stand to figure out how to. I mean, so really, it's about people taking action, and so in 10 years, I'd like to see not only another 228 honorees, but all the people that were inspired by them, and the people that were inspired by them. And I hope in another 10 years there are thousands of people out there in the community doing good things, helping out their friends and neighbors. That would be, an especially, great legacy for this project.
It seems like you're proud of the progress that the Hometown Heroes has made so far.
Oh, I'm extremely proud of it. Not only that, what I just mentioned, the part of inspiring people to do good work in the community, but I'm also extremely proud of the fact that we've raised over $60,000 for our charities.
That's
over
amazing.
the years. There have been dozens of students who received Hometown Heroes scholarships, and they know that the reason they got the scholarship is because of these things that they've done in the community, and so they've gotten some positive reinforcement for doing those things, and hopefully they'll continue to do those things. I know that the funding that we've given to the YMCA over these years have helped a lot of people, cancer survivors. There was a Challenger League that's just been established for basketball. In Vineland, the Rotary Club had started a charity league for mentally and physically handicapped children who wanted to play baseball just like every other kid, or softball. So the Challenger League is out there at West Landis Park. Not thinking of the name of the park off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank. But so that Challenger League concept now has been extended to the YMCA for the same thing, kids that want to be able to play basketball. And that was a program that just started this year. So I like to think that because of the money that we've raised for these two beneficiaries that we've been supporting for many years now, that there's a lot of those programs. There weren't not as many people would have been able to take advantage of those programs if not for the money that we've raised. So I'm very proud of those things.
You've really enlightened me, because you used the phrase about the YMCA gym and swim. That's what I thought all it was, but now you're telling me all the positive things they do for the community. I think a lot of people need to be aware of that.
I thought so too. Like I said, I've been associated with the Y as a member and a child who attended their nursery school program, but through college, I still viewed it as a gym and swim. I would work out there as a young man, and it wasn't. And even when I had my own children, and I coached my sons basketball or t-ball and soccer teams there, and both of my kids went to the YMCA for their annual trick or treat events that they had, things like that. It really wasn't until about 10 years ago that I started to get involved with the board that I realized that light bulb went off, and I realized how many more things that they do other than just being a fitness facility. That they do all this good work in the community. I didn't even know about the Live Strong program or the diabetes prevention program. I wasn't aware that there are people in the gym who wouldn't be there if not for the financial assistance program, because they otherwise would not have been able to afford it. I just saw it. I knew there was a pool. I knew I learned to swim in the pool. I knew my kids learned to swim in the pool.
You could get your little workout on.
Yeah, but it wasn't until I was much older and got involved as first they had a community advisory board, which we're going to be bringing back for people to just kind of get their feet wet, as you were, to get involved with the Y. And later I was involved with a strategic plan task force as a non-board member, and then later as a board member. I really the full picture crystallized for me. I saw all the good work that they do beyond just fitness programs. There's a lot of really fantastic work that they do. So I have to before we go any further, I don't know what other questions you're going to ask, but I have to recognize Deborah Ein. When I started the Grapevine in 2008, I hired Deb right away. Deb Ein and I had worked together many years before at Atlantic City Magazine. And when I decided to start this newspaper, her husband was a newspaper photographer and happened to be at a Chamber of Commerce, a Vineland Chamber of Commerce meeting when I was describing, this newspaper that I was going to start. And, at the time it was like January. Our first issue came out in February. So I was at this meeting of the Chamber in January, and I was given the opportunity to get up, and I was a new member. And at the time they would let new members get up and talk for a minute or two, and I told about this newspaper I wanted to start. So Mike Ein was there, went home, told his wife, "Oh, guess who I ran into? I ran into Mike Epifanio, who you worked with at Atlantic City Magazine. He's starting this newspaper in Vineland." And so I got a call from Deb, and she ended up coming on board. She was my first hire. And Deb has been with me ever since. So when SNJ Today acquired the Grapevine, and subsequently it's been renamed, the name of the newspaper has taken on the name of the company. Now it's SNJ Today. But Deb is still here to this day. And when I was, thinking, wow, we should do something for our anniversary, that there's, back in 2009, Deb was right there formulating this idea with me. And she's really the event co-chair. I'm the one who's, there standing at the podium, recognizing all the people. I'm the MC for the event, but people don't realize that behind the scenes, Deb kind of does everything.
Wow. I
mean, she runs the whole show. And I can't say enough about Mickey Brandt, who's come back year after year to help select the honorees and then handle all the writing of their bios and contacting all of the hometown here, and he does it like in a 2-week window of time. It's this impossible deadline, and Mickey manages to pull it all together. And so without Deb, this thing would not exist. So I'm really proud to have been able to work with her. And when we launched when we had the first gala, the first year we did it, neither one of us had any experience in event planning. I mean, and so here it is. We announced in February who our honorees are, and we have a gala in March that every year we get about in the neighborhood of 300 people. This year we had 385 people, and it's like 1 month from the time we announce who the honorees are that we have the gala. So it's like in 1 month we sell 385 tickets, plan this whole thing, and raise all this money for charity and recognize all these amazing people in our community. And so I couldn't be more proud of my association with Deb Ein, and with Mickey Brandt to make the thing happen.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that Mr. Brandt and Deb are definitely two valuable people to have on your team.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, the newspaper wouldn't be what it is without them, and certainly the Hometown Heroes Project wouldn't be what it is without them as well.
There aren't any more questions, Mike, but we'd like to thank you for your continued honorable work throughout the community.
Ahmed, I really appreciate it, man. I'm so passionate about this project. I love it. I'm so proud of it. And just to be able to get up here and to talk about it and spread the word about it, it means a lot to me. And I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to SNJ Today's podcast, South Jersey Stories. Find more local news at snjtoday.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. South Jersey Stories is hosted by Ahmed Graves Eel. Interviews were conducted by Alyssa Gompa and produced by Kevin Howard, with music by Jeff Schwachter.